to see everybody here today. Again, we're going to talk about what we see in the go-to-market or customer-facing landscape that is changing and the vision we had behind the acquisition and merger that we did between Base and EverAfter. We have Noa here, EverAfter's founder and CEO. She's going to introduce herself in a minute. Myself, I'm Gal. I'm CEO, co-founder at Base. We have people in the audience from marketing and customer marketing, from customer success, from digital CS, from product. So we've looked at the list, a lot of different domains and fields. A lot of people are kind of interested to understand what we're seeing in the market. So hopefully this will be insightful and interesting and a little bit fun. But yeah, maybe Noah, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Hi, Hi everyone. Great being here. So I'm the co-founder and CEO of EverAfter, and this is in the customer success space. So I know we have quite a few of our customers here on the call, which is great. EverAfter is in the space of digital customer success, basically productizing customer success programs into the new world of digital and experiences that drive customer actions. We've been in this space for the last 6 years or so, so we know quite a lot about what happened in CS in the last years, and happy to kick this off and talk about customer engagement and where this is going to.
Great. So I think we'll start by sharing a little bit, and again, introducing myself. So Base has been around for 6+ years now. I'm CEO and co-founder at Base. We started from the space of customer marketing. So we started with advocacy programs, reference programs, communities, and different types of things that when we started, we didn't know even to name them that way. But today we call them customer programs and customer experiences. And little by little, we grew to more programs and more experience. And we started seeing connections between these different programs, which is super logical because a customer doesn't care if they're in different programs. They know that they work with a brand. They know that they bought a product from company X. And basically what they want to do is they want to be part of as many relevant activities and programs with that company that contribute to their person. They want to do it because it contributes to their personal growth. It contributes to their company's success, to their success in their role. It contributes to their knowledge and expertise. And all those programs connect. And that's kind of some of the things that happened, I think, and progressed naturally both in Base and in EverAfter. And funny enough, the story is that we have a joint board member, and he kind of made the introduction because he said, hey, when I listen to board meetings from this side, from EverAfter, I hear similar words and similar stories and similar challenges. And when I go to board meetings in Base, I hear similar words and similar stories and similar challenges around customer experiences, customer engagement, customer lifecycle. And that's where this whole thing kind of started and grew. So that's a little bit, how we even got to start talking about it. And when we started talking about it, we identified a couple of things. So maybe we can dive into those things. And talk about how that looks like. So I'll share my screen. And while we do this, later on, hopefully I won't forget to also run a quick quiz and see what you guys think about some of these things. But here we go. So we're going to talk about what we're seeing in the customer OS or customer engagement OS AI platform, how the world is changing, why data is becoming so significant, and basically why we did this M&A and where it's leading us to become a customer engagement platform. But let's start a little bit with the whys and what we see in the market potentially. So most companies, each company has the same type of revenue pillars, revenue kind of possibilities. The first possibility, the first pillar is acquisition. New customers come in, they bring new money, right? The second possibility is around growth, upsell, cross-sell, expansion. And the third lever basically is around retention, right? Adoption and retention. So while all companies have the same levers, the same pillars, something, this simplified flywheel, if you will, doesn't really fly. It doesn't work. And the way that we see it within these levers, when you think about acquisitions, or when you think about all these pillars and levers, it's always customer based. Because even acquiring new customers requires existing customers. That's kind of the first point under acquisition here. Existing customers in the customer marketing domain, we call it, it was once called the 3 R's. We're thinking about 4 R's now. So the R's are references, referrals, and reviews. Think about it. References, a customer, are important to get customers, prospects to trust your product. Referrals, existing customers say, hey, this is great, I'm referring another customer. Reviews, they're giving you product reviews and thumbs up and so on. And reputation, which becomes even more important in the age of AI, because AEO, SEO, the whole domain of search in LLM, search in ChatGPT and whatnot, is influenced a lot but by what these LLMs can scrape or grab. And some of it is what people say about you in review sites like G2 and others, in communities such as Reddit, in your own public community, and of course, any customer story, customer video, and so on and so forth, anything public, because those LLMs scrape what they can and they scrape public stuff, and they want to have customer proof. So this is why existing customers are so impactful in acquisition. Of course, it's when you do upsell, cross-sell, expansion, it's always to existing customers. And when you're trying to get higher adoption and retention, of course, it's also existing customers. So really, all three pillars kind of circle around the same thing. You have to have a very strong motion with your customers throughout their journey to do that. And what we see is that this flywheel is broken in many companies because of many reasons, but kind of what surfaced a lot is that there's a lack of a single system to orchestrate this lifecycle engagement, a single source of truth, a way to create an experience that is better for internal teams and better for customers. Anything, Noa, you want to share kind of from your experience around this?
I feel both of us are working with customer-facing teams, and they were supposed to be like the most important teams in the org, right? Because they bring new revenue and existing one, and this was supposed to be, and I think, and we talk a lot about how those teams are actually really struggling these days, even though they are managing most of the company revenue and have the greatest impact. So something here is definitely broken. It's a bit different for what is broken in the CS side and the customer marketing side, but it's supposed to be the most important people in the org, and hopefully we'll get there.
Yeah, and basically sales, for many companies, sales owns revenue, if you will, but sales many times only owns the acquisition revenue, which many times is 30% of the revenue of a company. And we know that customer success and digital success and customer marketing, they all own. I don't love the word own because nobody owns a customer and nobody owns revenue, but they kind of are in charge of making sure that we sustain that revenue, and that revenue retention and growth and upsell, cross-sell, expansion is sometimes 70-80% of the company's revenue. And there's some kind of anomaly or misbalanced way of thinking about it. And we think it's changing, and that's kind of what we want to talk about. So part of the reasons why all this came to path is, maybe we need to go actually one step back, but basically think about how things were built in, historically, right? So 1999, Mark Benioff with his signs, software is dead. It kind of sounds like now in 2026 a replay with SaaS, but he came with his signs, software is dead, and there's SaaS, right? And SaaS was introduced. Then when SaaS was introduced, Salesforce also started with account managers. They also introduced, I think, the first CSMs, but they started with this whole notion of account management. Then they kind of started they didn't call it CSMs, of course. Gainsight came into play 2009, 2000, somewhere there, 10, and basically started with CSMs. And then we had this model of account executives from the sales side and CSMs from the customer success side. And that's been around for 15 years, give or take. And I don't know if there's anything around that you want to share from the element of this, of what how this evolved and maybe what we're thinking is going to happen in 2030. But just to mention, all this led to kind of a case where you have a little bit of a chaos, right? Because you're seeing kind of so many different tools that belong to different departments, right? There's tools for CS and tools for marketing and tools for sales and tools for product. And all these tools are creating different data sources, different channels to engage with your customers, different experiences for your customers. Customers have 2, 3, 5, 7 logins. And while they all this time work with the same company, let's say we're talking about ABC, whatever, finance software. So they're working with ABC finance software for 2, 3 years. They're still going to different logins. They're still, talking to different people, and the conversations don't connect. If a product person interviewed the customer, their CSM wouldn't know about that interview. If a customer mentioned something on a call that was even recorded on a Gong call, their salesperson wouldn't know that that customer mentioned this and it's very relevant, maybe to other prospects. If marketing got a customer to speak in an event, not necessarily anybody took notes of what they spoke in that event and was actually able to add that to the insights of the account and the contact. If CS had, a QBR, do other teams in the company know about some of the outcomes and insights from that QBR about the account and the contact? So because of this historical build, hey, we first build sales and account managers, and then we build of course, marketing and CS, and each department build their own practice. And we evolved it each time, adding another team, another layer, and each team added another tooling set. We've created a bit of a mess. But I'm happy to hear your thoughts on that, Noah.
I mean, tech was supposed to be great. I mean, you're delivering a software. Software is amazing, and customers just get it, right? And this is and reality is that it's not. So you need to run all of those programs and activities, and then you need people to be able to run QBRs. You need people to be able to run support. You need to be able to run customer marketing, and yes, and then you need all your internal people to communicate together, which is a huge challenge, especially as you grow. I mean, when you grow, you have more resources, but you have more people that need to communicate about customers. So the problem is just getting bigger as you grow. And it's not getting into a place where sometimes, especially in the remote world, people in the teams don't know each other even. So it's not like there is a place where the customer marketer can talk to the customer success person just in, brainstorm on how to work together. So this is also creating silos inside the orgs, and customers are just part of the mess.
Yeah. So, and by the way, we're going to launch a poll, first of all. And I didn't want to show you this. We're going to launch a poll, and we're also encouraging you to add thoughts, ask questions, either in the comments or in the Q&A. Wait, I'm a man. I can't do too many things at once. I need to both launch the poll and run this. So wait, give me a moment here. Or when Noah will talk, I'll figure out launching the poll later. Too many things. Okay, but anyway, so the way that we've seen kind of things happen in the market, and again, that this is a little bit about the background story of where we started to talk about combining forces here or joining forces. There's a compounding impact of challenges that have been around and are just compounding and compounding, even in of course, a bigger, if you will, snowball in the last couple of years, namely, the last 2 years of AI. But so while we're not 100% sure about how go-to-market will look like in 2030, if you will, we do know a couple of things. We know that, every company has churn, or at least every company I know of has churn, and it's not it's always an issue, if you will. It's never perfect, or for 95% of the companies in the world, it's not something that they're happy with, and it's something that it's a continuous work. You can say, hey, but it would have been much worse if we wouldn't put in, for example, systems and people like customer success, like communities, like whatever systems and teams help. And you're right to say so. That's true. Probably everything that companies built and put in place was to make sure that their customers realize more value, understand, adopt better, and kind of retain better, right? But it's never been, if you will, perfect. Then on top of that, at least in the last 3 years, we've seen it started with kind of an efficiency trend in 2022, 2023, where a lot of investors and a lot of people start talking about efficiency, and you've seen a crunch in budgets. So suddenly teams, whether it's on the marketing side, CS side, other sides, had less budget. And with less budget, they started to have smaller teams or less tools. Um, then, last 2 years, mostly AI is pushing, and definitely in 2025, AI is starting to push into all of these different departments. And what does AI create? A lot of great things, but also a few challenges. Um, More data. So you have a bit more. If you had a mess before, you kind of have now more mess or more data, and also more competition because everybody can build something in Lovable and say that they just built a CS platform or they built a whatever tool or and kind of ship it to market very fast. There's a whole discussion which is separate about how good are all these new builds, but so you have customers are and also customers have new expectations because all of us were first of all people, first of all consumers. We use ChatGPT in our daily life to ask questions about whatever, medical stuff or travel stuff or business stuff, doesn't matter. So we're all expecting our vendors, our products to be more AI, to be more ChatGPT, to be more, of the new type of experience and value, to do things faster for us. All of these things are compounding. And again, it's not something that happened last week or last year. It's something that's been compounding, I want to say, at least in the last 6, 7 years. We've seen all these trends around because there was a big boom with Gainsight and with customer success and this whole motion of post-sale customer engagement. And then, 5 years later, 10 years later, we have customer success, we have Gainsight, we have CS platforms, but we still haven't solved churn. There was a big boom after COVID. Let's invest money, let's bring teams, but then kind of that boom flipped into efficiency, cut teams, cut budgets, cut tools. There was, AI came in, and now we're starting to see the adoption of it. And again, the adoption brings a lot of complexity with that. All this also comes with a time with politics, and we're not going to talk about politics, but market instability and everything that's happening around in the world that is adding, in the technology sector, just keeping on losing company values in the market. All this adds up to a very unstable environment. And in that kind of environment, a lot of things are going to change. But what we do know is that probably, companies are going to need new frameworks and new competitive advantages. Teams will probably be same size or smaller, not going to grow in most cases. And AI will be part of any go-to-market, any customer-facing framework. Yeah, no, I want to see if you have any thoughts on that.
We are both very optimistic and we love the people we are working with. So I think those crazy times also created a lot of grit in the people that are working with customers and a lot of strong understanding of what the customer need and like expecting the company to do. So I think though the challenge is huge, people who survived all of this are now in a great place to get into this new era of AI and productizing some of the work, getting more efficiency and getting things they weren't able to deliver before. So knowing what we know about the people out there, they can make it, right? I mean, we still need to have a path forward. It's not the end of the world.
And I've just launched the poll, so I figure out
okay,
I
so
think
let's
I
see.
did.
Yeah.
But yeah, and I think we look at it at two different angles. So I can take the angle of what we see marketing or CMOs say, and then Noa, you could add the angle of what we see chief customers and VP of customer success say. But from a marketing angle, and this stat is from Braze, which is a company that does customer engagement, customer marketing in the B2C space mainly. But they've seen that 42% of the CMOs have shifted their budget, 50% or more of their budget, to lifecycle marketing, to retention marketing. Why is that? If we track back, it's basically because in Heidi, which is the CMO of Telium, one of our customers, and she's been in marketing tech for many years, companies like Marketo, Engagio. When I talk to her about these things, it's the way kind of she frames it. Hey, the boards are coming in and they're saying, we want marketing to influence revenue beyond demand generation. Marketing, if you go 10 years back, 5 years back, most CMOs were measured on two things or thought about two things: brand and demand. How I build the brand and how I create more demand. They were measured on really one key metric. If you think that customer success, their North Star or their metric would be retention, marketing's metric 5 years ago would be MQLs, marketing qualified leads. How many leads can I bring to sales so they convert that into customers? And again, that is breaking, that is changing dramatically. Most CEOs, more CROs are kind of telling, more CFOs are telling their CMOs, we need you to put some marketing resources around lifecycle, around post-sale, around helping the company to increase NRR, GRR, helping the company to grow revenue, helping the company to retain customers, to get better adoption, to get, whatever you can help marketing, please help the entire revenue stream, that flywheel, and not just the first part of it, not just acquisition. It's also pushed by the fact that companies want to reduce budget and customer acquisition costs has gone high, more than 5x higher in the last couple of years. It's much more expensive now to acquire a customer than it was 2 years ago, 5 years ago. That's another thing that's kind of creating a shift where marketing are saying, okay, where do I put my dollar? Where is it going to be more efficient? And then there's really those two things combined create a paradigm shift in marketing and with CMOs where they're basically saying, I need to take my budgets and put it on retention, upsell, expansion programs. And I need to, do that with the same amount of headcount or less headcount and more tooling and AI. So that's where CMOs kind of are shifting, and we see titles like VP of Revenue Marketing, right? So it's really becoming the era where CMOs and marketing is becoming a revenue marketing function versus a brand and demand only function. That's, if you will, what we're seeing in the CMO side of the house, or why marketing is now getting more involved in customer experience, customer engagement, lifecycle programs. What are you seeing, Noah, from the other side of customer success?
Yeah. So in customer success, we own the customer, right? I know it's not about ownership, but basically, like, we know customers best. We talk to them all day, right? We know where they struggle. We're owning support. We know like what they were sold versus what we can deliver. We are working with them very closely. So this is something that ideally we would have a CSM that can do everything and do the onboarding and support and the consultation and strategy and work with them start to end and be the technical but also the visionary person. And in reality, it's not there. So there are many different functions inside customer success. It's not just a single person, right? It's like talking to a support person and talking to an enterprise customer success manager is a whole different thing. Not to talk about digital people who are maybe even not speaking directly to customers in most of the days. But now for marketing to come into customer success space and start talking or engaging with our customers, this can create some sort of like a mess, right? I mean, how can we deal with this? And it is happening, right? Like
and the way that I think I would frame it, many times I've seen or met CMOs that kind of would say my internal customer is the CRO or the VP sales. That's the person that I need to kind of keep happy, and they were hopefully buddies. I think what hopefully we're going to see now is not that the relationship between the CMO and the CRO, but also that relationship between the CMO and the CCO. We've seen companies like HubSpot that have just nominated John to become their. He began his John Dick became his career in marketing. Then he moved to be kind of the SVP of customer success. Now he's the chief customer officer at HubSpot, and he leads both sales and customer success, right? So I think we're seeing different changes in organizational structures where marketing is going to work much closer with the chief customer officer, and VP of marketing is going to work much closer with VP of customer success. And these motions around post-sale engagement are going to start becoming putting the customer in mind, because again, everybody's goal is retention. Part of retention is a better customer experience. Part of a better customer experience is remembering that the customer is, how do we make sure that that customer really has a better experience, gets more value, simpler way of engaging with us, simpler way of adopting learning, and so on. So these discussions could and should happen now, because it's the way to build not only better internal bridges, but also better winning motions for your company.
So if you're a CMO, you should schedule your one-on-one like weekly with a CCO?
I think so. And vice versa. I would definitely say go meet each other, talk about, hey, how do we together influence retention? How do we together influence upsell, cross-sell expansion, and so on and so forth? There's companies we meet where it's happening. There's definitely companies that are doing that today. There's definitely companies that have kind of broken down the walls, the silos, and are doing that collaboration. Customer marketing and customer success have been working together for years. The most simple example is if you run a reference program, in most companies, the customer marketing team, even if they own and run the reference program, and even if the beneficiary, their internal customer is sales, their partner for that program would be customer success, because they would go to the CS team and they would say, we're going to launch a reference program. We need you to, number one, help us identify which customers can be referenceable. You know the customers, you work with them. Number two, tell us what makes sense as a process. Should we, ask customers for a reference? How frequently can we do that? And sometimes customer success would be more protective of their customers, sometimes less. It depends a lot on the relationship and whatnot. Sometimes they would want to approve every time you reach out to the customer, sometimes not. And again, systems can solve for all that. But the bottom line is, customer marketing has been working with customer success on customer programs for years. It's not new, because again, these programs touch customers, so the customer success team should be involved. I think the big difference is the strategic level of it. I don't know how frequently CMOs worked with CCOs in the past. I don't know how frequently on a strategic level, marketing as a whole, product marketing, brand, demand, everybody, of course, customer marketing, partner marketing, all the marketing teams, how frequently did marketing leadership align with customer success leadership? And I think that's the change that hopefully is happening. We're going to see more joint customer-facing activities, programs, more joint go-to-markets, if you will, between those alignments, much like what has been around for the last 10 years between sales and marketing. Sales and marketing have always had this love-hate relationship, but it's been around for years now, right? And I don't think that exists that profoundly between marketing and customer success.
I mean, we have interesting comments on the chat that you should definitely read. I think it's, Damien is writing about their org that took the approach of having a reference program, and they have a joint collaboration between the CS and the marketing team. And this is amazing, because in some cases, CS feel they are like making a favor, like doing a favor to, like making they're being made to, like forced into going to the customer and asking, and they feel like uncomfortable doing this, versus having this joint effort and joint KPIs to go and do that. It's not a favor to ask your customer to comment on like a social media post, or in like a website review, and something has to change. So Damien, this is good for you, and be happy to hear how were you able to get this collaboration going from your part. This is something there to look forward.
And definitely agree with a lot that's been mentioned in the chat, but I agree that shared KPIs are the way to create kind of alignment between all teams, always. and that these organizations are working together even more so. So I think when we kind of look at um, where we're going, it's really more around, hey, moving from that bit of chaos where different teams reach out to different customers. We've had teams or customers come to us and say, hey, before we created an orchestration framework, a customer could have been reached out 4 times a week. Like they would have had product ask them for something and marketing ask them for another thing, and then sales ask them for another thing, and then CS talk to them another thing. And maybe somebody needed them because it's earning calls, and leadership also wanted them to get a quote for the earning call. So it was never really the customer in the center. Like every company said that they're customer centric, or 95% of the customer companies on their website say they're customer centric. But
Customer obsessed. Is this like the
customer
customer obsessed?
obsessed, customer obsessed, customer centric. But kind of they don't necessarily, they talk the talk, they don't necessarily walk the walk. I mean, it's putting it to an extreme, but I think that there's a different way or there's a different behavior that should be adopted when you want to be fully customer centric. And first of all, it's kind of putting the customer in the center and thinking from first principles, thinking from, okay, if I was a customer, what would be the experience I want? How would I want to engage with this brand, this product, this service? What would I expect from my vendor? What would I think is great experience versus things that I would try to, not experience or avoid. And I think, that's kind of, oops, sorry. That's where we're thinking that if you build that and you kind of say, hey, it's a flywheel again, it's a motion. They start with buying your product, then they onboard on your product, then they adopt it, and hopefully they adopt more of your product. Hopefully, if they're happy, they become advocates. Hopefully, then you can grow them and upsell or cross-sell or expand. And then if everything, of course, works like that, they retain. That's been known for years. That's kind of the simple flow, the simple logic of, the customer life cycle. But it's never really been a life cycle. It's never really been a flywheel. And these different departments, these different teams that are customer facing, they've all had different approaches to what they want to do for the customer. And then most times they didn't align. They had different tools of how to approach the customers. And again, those systems didn't align on data or outreach. They had different programs or strategies, which didn't always align. So this is where we're kind of thinking this new compounding impact or effect in the world is really creating an opportunity. It's creating an opportunity to rethink structures, rethink frameworks, rethink how we work with customers, align on the same KPIs, align on the same ways we're doing business with our customers. But yeah, no, I'm happy to hear kind of your thoughts on that.
I mean, this is something people are thinking maybe for the last 2 or 3 years. I think now but it's really hard to make changes in the org and change the way you work. I think the current revolution with AI is forcing everyone and giving also the freedom to experiment and do those, because like there's no choice, right? I mean, so it's the time to execute of like the ideas and concepts that companies had 2 or 3 years ago and where they want to go, and now is the time.
Yeah.
This is where things are, and the combination between CS and marketing is a strong one, as CS have the deep understanding of like the product and like what customers are doing and everything, and marketing is like the great execution of tech and scale and conversion and all of those expertise that are needed in order to get to the next phase. I wish they can really work well together. So maybe internal mobility is a good thing. Maybe something to allow people to like work in different departments would also bring those skills and expertise into the other teams. Would a marketer want to be a CSM for a day?
I think so. Many customer marketers love the part they love the most about their job is the ability to talk to customers, the ability to listen, whether it's when you interview them for a customer story or customer testimonial, whether it's when you have them in an advocacy program and you're kind of hearing their feedback and rallying the troops to kind of have a joint goal, like, hey guys, we need to whatever get our best results in Gartner because we reviews because we want to be top right, in Gartner Magic Quadrant. So customer marketing, specifically in marketing at large, I think like talking to the customers, right? For them, it's an opportunity to talk to the people that they think, or want to serve the most. So yeah, I think any customer marketer would take that kind of, hey, be a CSM for a day idea, and do it, and probably a good idea.
So guys, we are talking about like the infrastructure that can bring us to the place where we have an engagement OS.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, this is the direction that we are taking. And we are talking a lot about data and what companies know about customers and like the users inside each customer in order to be able to understand where the customer is, where the user is, what is going to do, like to be the next best action for them. Marketing has their own data, customer service has their own like other data. And there is a lot of data outside of what is going on social media and other things with those people. How can we bring this data together, and what can we do with this when we'll unify it into a single platform?
It's a great question. Before that, I'll share the poll results because I think it
Mm.
actually relates to that.
Okay.
Hopefully, I'm doing a right job in sharing it. Can you see that?
Yeah, I can see this, but
Right.
I'm
Okay, hopefully everybody sees it. So what are we seeing? Why do I think that these poll results matter to what Noah just asked? Because a couple of things. First of all, you can see programs are all over the place, right? We've had every one of these programs, more than 10% of the people are running. So every one of these programs is not minute. Some of them are super significant. Number one is, growth, upsell, cross-sell expansion. 56% of the people on the webinar, the people that answer the phone, are focusing, that's their primary focus, that's their primary area. But then you have a lot doing advocacy and community, probably second place if I'm reading this right. And then there's, customer marketing and CLG programs, CLG's customer-led growth programs. And then, we have voice of customer and feedback, similar to that. And descending order, things like social proof, user-generated content, and maybe something that I'm missing here is referrals and so on. So to me, there's really, it ties to that question of how do you combine data and how do you combine, we need to understand that the data needs to reflect or be relevant to all these programs. We need to understand that basically all these different teams have different KPIs, different programs that they run. Most times they run 2, 3, 4 programs at once, not just one, but and how do you connect again the customer experience and also the customer data throughout these programs? Because if somebody did a referral, for example, which is one of the programs here, we can assume they're happy. They wouldn't refer your product without being happy with it or trusting it. If they're happy, could we then turn them into an advocate? If they're happy, is this the right time to move them to an upsell or cross-sell expansion? This is why it matters to know all these programs together and all the data together. So that's kind of a little bit of where that takes us. But if we go into how all this is, how we see this today, so we basically have in base and ever after a combined approach where we're saying the program is a program. If your goal, and these are some of the programs that people mentioned, if your goal is to have upsell, cross-sell expansion, what we define as lifecycle engagement, lifecycle marketing, growth marketing, but it also comes, of course, from other teams. If your program is advocacy, if your program is community, if your program is onboarding and digital onboarding, if you want to create better motions around value realization, if you want to create loyalty programs, if you have a partner motion and you want to have partner advocacy and partner engagement and partner education, all of these things, they are all programs that can and should have the same data layer. At the end, it's a customer or a partner, but let's talk about a customer. It might be Eleanor from account ABC. And if she now is an advocate and later she provides a piece of content, and from that piece of content, we learn something new about her. And then we could say, oh, that's amazing. We want to have you, for example, leverage that for, something like a referral and share with others that you have this success. Or because we've learned something new about you, Eleanor, and you're happy, we think that it's a great time for more teams to use the product in your company. So maybe we can do an expansion motion or a cross-sell motion, more products, and so on. So the idea of connecting the dots is super important, and sales, marketing, customer success, leadership, product teams, all seeing the same picture. I'll give you one example from NICE, one of our customers. They had, as part of what we run with them, is they have a community, and they have an advocacy program, they have a reference program, and they have an executive program, many programs. But one of them is really around product features and product feature requests, which is something naive, if you will, but you kind of have, hey, so they do upvotes. So what? It's not so what. What NICE did is said, okay, let's take all those upvotes, right, in the community and start creating a whole new framework of product teams. So now product managers have a direct line to customers, which is not very normal. Product managers now, instead of trying to talk to CS or marketing and see who can be a beta customer and run this, 2-month campaign just to have X beta customers or X people get an interview, product managers now get people to be beta customers or in an interview in minutes, in days. Product managers now get all the customer requests and upvotes in a single kind of framework that goes all the way to their Jira. They decide what they're going to develop, and part of what people upvoted for is part of the rationale of what they're going to develop. And then they go all the way back and let people know, we heard you, we're going to develop this, or we're not, but this is feature that we're going to roll out. And this breaking kind of the lines and the silos. And again, it all happens for the customer. It's simple because it's one experience, the same place that they do community, the same place that they do advocacy, the same way that they ask peers for advice, the same way that they learn new things, the same way that they consume your content. They also is the way for them to engage the product team and get and say what they want and get a response in real time or near to real time of what's going to happen, what not. So that's a bit of how we think that these new engagements or new relationships could be built. All these customer-facing teams could have the same way of communicating with customers, the same way of making customers, engage with them and giving value to these customers. Because if you develop a feature a customer wanted, you've just given them more value in a way that customers also can appreciate.
I think another aspect is very strong in both sides is the personalization part, because when you have the data layer and it's very strong, you can personalize the experience, like and direct them to exactly where you want them to go, right? You can drive the next best action. Either it's complete your onboarding or help us with reference. But this is like a big part of being able to deliver it, is the personalization level that now is like more possible than ever before.
Right. And this is an example, right, of having, this is maybe a customer portal, customer gateway with different activities that could be personalized for different people. And you could have education journeys in here. Ooh, there we go. Of course, that would happen. And you could have different things that are happening here, right? So you could have different activities that happen across this journey. You could have different education journeys if you wanted to run those, and programs, and they are personalized to that person. But you could also have, in that same element, in that same realm, you could have a success program that runs to that customer, or you could have, and this is what, for example, the type of digital success programs that Ever After has been showing. And of course, when you do a demo, of course, it's going to load slower, but where you kind of, customers can go through different steps. They first need to watch the video, and then they need to do more things, and only then they unlock more. And if you wanted to suddenly roll out a mentor program where experienced customers help less experienced customers, maybe they help them with onboarding, maybe they help them with value realization, maybe they just help them with becoming experts in their domain, you could do that as well if you want to have a partner zone. I mean, but the same data layer, the same experience is connected. And this is part of what Noah and I are envisioning. But yeah, no, happy to hear your thoughts around this.
Yeah. I mean, the ability to deliver new programs, or like a way to deliver way better programs, is like now so powerful and possible. And also the ability to build them fast, using vibe coding and personalization, and the data that you already have is now very, very much doable. So this is where things are going, right? I mean, this is like being able to productize what you already know, experiment with what you don't know, and combine together. I think one of the things that excites me the most is the combination that we are seeing between the gamification that marketing can do with points and rewards, and bringing it also to the customer success programs, like what can happen with gamification during onboarding and with success plans, and where this will take us. So this is also an interesting part we're going to explore together.
Yeah. And again, thinking about customers and customers' experience and all that, you could also think about, the ability to put it under a loyalty framework, right? So you can say, hey, we all travel. We might be ambassadors in this flight, whatever, United Airlines ambassador or a frequent flyer. And why not in B2B? Why not say, hey, if somebody started training and didn't finish it, let's encourage them to finish training. If they are in the community and they're contributing and helping others, let's acknowledge that. If they are now, they finished onboarding, great. So as they progress with their journeys with you, all that could tie into a framework where you're saying, hey, the more you're active, the more you're progressing, as you're adopting and growing, we want to acknowledge that. We want to give you rewards, loyalty programs. We can gamify it. We also want to then make you maybe a mentor, right? When you're ready, maybe have you as a speaker and so on. So this idea of connecting the journey data points and always knowing what is, keeping it very simple and personal and a great experience for the customer, because you only serve them the content or the activities that are relevant to them in that stage. So it's great for them, but it's also great for the company because you have more customers now raising their hand and saying, yeah, I'm at the point that I'm happy to speak at your event. Now I'm at the point that I can be a user group leader. Now I'm at the point where I want to join this community and I want to actually ask others, or maybe I also want to answer to others and so on. So that's part of this whole framework. And we believe that eventually you could create a motion where you see in one place all the different data points. You see in one place, how all these programs are influencing acquisition. Because even customer stories that you were able to get from your customers are content pieces that people watch and view and have viewed them in correlation to new deals or referrals that these customers did. How much revenue did that bring in? Or how much is the retention when customers are part of all these programs versus customers who have not joined any of the program? If somebody is not in the community and not in advocacy program and not in a customer success value realization program or digital success program, and not, their retention might be 84, but average. But if they are part of these programs and motions and they do see a better experience and value, the retention is higher. So these are some of the things that we're building and seeing together. Of course, we can't do the whole call without talking about AI, but I mean, also when you think about AI, we think of agents with jobs to be done with, hey, now we're running an upsell motion. Now we want to be able to get digital onboarding done faster. Now we want to be able to find references or create a mentor program. How do we build that? No, I'd love to hear your thought about how agents and AI kind of adds on to all this.
Yeah, can I show mine?
Of course.
So I wanted to build like a value realization dashboard for customers. So this was like part of being able to show where things are going, and I'll share my screen. Hopefully it will work.
Yeah.
Oh, no. Yeah, you can see it. You can see the video?
It's loading, but we don't see it. I don't see it. It's black.
Yeah, I see it's black too. Let's try again. Maybe we should use AI to share screens. Okay, so we can start from the beginning. So basically, I have this environment that is connected to my data in Snowflake and my knowledge base, and I asked it to create a value realization dashboard for my customers. And because it has everything, and because vibe coding is really working today, having the knowledge of the company and the data from the different sources allows to build those experiences really quickly. And when you have the delivery platform to deliver it to the right customer in the right time and also drive action, this is a big part of what can be done. And things that used to take months just because you had to think about what you want to show to customers, how you want to design it, who should do it. And now you don't need to talk about it. You can prototype it quickly, have it already with the right data, and you can ship it like same day. I think this is a huge game changer. Back then, we talked with like companies to deliver one customer program per year. Like we thought it will take like a year to, get everyone together, understand what they want to deliver, how they want to do it. Things are changing, right? The deployment is like way faster than before. Um, this is this is very this is very strong in where companies are taking it. It's just the beginning.
Totally agree. And this example of vibe coding, which is, part of the product, is a great thing because a lot of people talk about vibe coding, and there's great tools out there like Lovable and whatnot, but there's a big and significant difference between vibe coding your kind of side project, your pet project for, hey, I want to build my own whatever system to track whenever my kids are not doing their homework on time. Great. But the other option of it is when you need the systems to be adherent to company policy, to security, to what we decide as rules of can we or can we not reach out to customers and which customers, and if this customer is not happy, they have a poor health score, or they have too many tickets or whatever, what do we do then? And as a company, if they have right now an open opportunity, do we do something with them or do we not because we want them first to close that deal, and so on and so forth. All these things that becomes much more, and a lot of data and a lot of insights and sentiments, that becomes way more complicated to put all this in a kind of general vibe coding versus what Noah showed now. That's connected to your um, customer data, to their journey. On an account level, where is this account with us, but also on a contact level, where is Sarah with us? And being able to make it super personalized and relevant and valuable for your customers, but also within the rules of engagement of your company and within the security and compliance rules of your company, and easy for you to roll out and ship, like Noah said, in a day. That's, I think, what's super powerful and really changing a lot of what's going to happen. And some other examples are, Noah showed a video of it, but we can listen to a call and an agent in real time can create, first of all, a customer story from that call or a G2 review from that call, or an AI agent can in real time create a social wall with all the quotes and videos and stories and reviews based on all these calls and G2 reviews. And you could just go in and just write, give me all the content we have right now from finance organizations in Canada. It just builds a designated wall for that with all the proof, right? So these are things that agent can do in zero time and was much harder to do earlier. Or if you think about the expansion and upsell, which was one of the biggest things that were mentioned here, again, you could have agents run and say, now we're in the point where we think we identify these customers that are ready now to buy because of different things they told us in the past when they just onboarded or when they did their goals planning. And now is the right time to tell them, hey, you need to add these features or look into these possible capabilities to be able to realize more value, to be able to succeed more in your role and in your job. So agents and AI help us do a lot of these things better. Anything you want to add there, Noah? And of course, all of it is account and contact based. So it would always sync with the account data in Gainsight or in Salesforce or another system. It will always sync with the contact data in all those systems in Snowflake, whatnot, and help you see that journey where the customer is, how active they are, and again, also ideally, what is the next best action for them? When that customer's, if they're healthy, if they're growing, if they're advancing, what is the next best thing to do with them?
So basically, AI is not going to replace people. It's going to replace some jobs, and it's on us to make sure we are contributing more to the org with AI and taking everything we did so far to the next level, and not just replacing what is just being done today with AI, but actually being able to do things we weren't able to do before.
For sure.
And we are almost out of time.
Yes. So happy to answer questions, but let's just put in the next action. So basically, what can you do today, or what's kind of a good idea of what to do next? A couple of our recommendations is, first of all, identifying those programs that you think can move the needle, that could, help you impact revenue, because management leadership, that's all they want to hear about, or a lot of what they want to hear about. That's what they care about. We need to talk the revenue lingo, and we need to show how, if we do this, we're going to influence that dollars. Outline your CLG or customer-led growth strategy, this flywheel. How will these different things that your different programs influence this domino effect of, hey, if we do this, it will impact this, that will impact retention, or and so on. So kind of do reverse engineering and think about what are the programs and how it looks like from a holistic approach for your customers, from a better experience for your customers that influences better revenue. Think about, again, the classic programs that can grow. How can they grow retention or adoption or upsell and expansion, advocacy, referrals, but the programs that grow revenue or touch revenue. And how basically do we work better and share information with other teams, marketing, sales, customer success, product, RevOps, and so on. How do we all see the same customer? How do we all engage them in a way that is great for the customer, but also great for us, and we achieve the best? We can reach out. Some companies say, hey, no, we talked to this account this month, but hey, maybe there's 20 people in the account. We talked to the account 5 times this month, but it's 5 different people, it's fine. If we talk 5 times with the same person, it's not fine. So things like that. I don't know if you want to add more things here.
I would say that we forgot something very important, is to go to the CLG award. And this is also a good next step.
Yeah.
I think it's closing today, maybe, right? The option to nominate yourself. So if you haven't, and you are in the CLG space and working on customer programs, see the link in the chat, right?
Yeah.
And learn more about it. I think we'll be happy to see you there.
Yeah. And we think, and we've, again, going back to where we started, the vision we have is that customer experiences built by customer success team, by customer marketing teams, should be tied to revenue, should be tied to outcomes and ROI, should be tied to a better way of seeing what's, the data with customers. And this is kind of where we ever after that built amazing experiences, amazing programs from a customer success kind of approach, and base that's built great programs from a customer marketing approach, are now, and we've shown a little bit of it, are now creating like a single way to do that. And yeah, if you're already, whether you have a tool or not, but if you're already thinking revenue, thinking customer-led growth, thinking about building all that, you should first of all nominate yourself or your team to that CLG, top 100 awards. And also, we'd love to talk to you, whether it's Noa, myself, both of us, and just talk to you about what's possible. Talk to you about how you can make that change in your company, make a dent in the world, and be able to help your company move to the next era of customer experiences and next era of kind of customer-led growth.
Thank you, everyone. And I look forward to working with you, Gal.
Same here. Thank you all, and have a great week.